Hare Krishna, Namaste, and good evening. Hello. Welcome to you all. Thanks for coming in again. Today we have a subject. This is number 14 in our series of classes on the essential teachings of Bhakti. And this talk is about Rasa. Rasa. We'll understand what that is very shortly. Thank you for coming in. Yes, if you've been with me for the past 13 talks, you'll know that we've been edging our way forward through the Upanishads, through the sort of slightly scientific, slightly less personal layers of understanding the ultimate reality, the source of all, according to the Vedic culture, the Vedic philosophy of the Upanishads. And tonight we're going to not move on from that, but we're going to move on to the next slightly more esoteric understanding of Godhead and our relationship to Godhead. That is Rasa. So in the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we'll find the basic discussion of everything that we've talked about so far about the nature of the soul and the nature of the Godhead and the nature of the relationship. And then as he's talking to his first disciple, his first follower, Rupa Goswami, he talks about something called Rasa. But let's go back a bit, wind back. The central idea is that the ultimate reality is personal. That's how far we got last time. And personal because that reality is conscious, and that is God, what we call God in the Western language, and that is relational. In other words, that it's experiential, not a question of having an abstract concept of God as being something over there and me being over here, but it's directly personal and relational. The highest spiritual experience is not abstract, it's a relationship. Not only that, but the relationship is one of love. And it shouldn't come as such a strange idea to us because we're already experiencing relationships with everything. You have a relationship with a cushion that you're sitting on right now. You have a relationship with, I have a relationship with this cup of water. It's not a relationship of love, it's sort of temporary, but it's a relationship. I have a relationship with the cup that's holding the water. I'm in a relationship. I'm in a relationship with a cushion, a cup, but also my dog, my cat, my country, my husband, my wife, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my school, my college, my university, my job, my boss. We are in a network of relationships. And all of these are known as rasa. So the rasa is the basic experience of that relationship. Not the relationship itself, but the experience of the relationship. And this can be many flavors. So a rasa is like a flavor of a relationship. For instance, there can be love, humor, friendship, chivalry, even fear. I can be in a relationship of fear. If I permanently fear someone, I'm in a fear rasa with that person. But we may not be experiencing it in its fullest form. The idea that rasa can be permanently and most experienced in our relationship with God. So the term rasa was previously used in theatre, in ancient India in theatre. And the idea was that the skillful dramatist, the scriptwriter, and the director, and the theatrical arranger of props and scenery could together convey an emotion. And the different actors were moving on stage with their costumes and props and music. This would all give the audience a certain emotion or a range of emotions. Usually drama subsists and finds its existence in a conflict of emotions, doesn't it? Hero and heroine, and Romeo and Juliet, for instance, the hero and the heroine, the namesakes of the play. They're in love, but they can't be in love because someone is stopping them being in love, and it's all very dramatic. Or a case of mistaken identity, and just bad characters, good characters, heroes, heroines, and the good guy, the bad guy. Drama subsists on this. So if you are skillful, the ancient dramatist, what was his name? Bharat Muni. He says if you're very skillful at creating certain emotions in your audience, you're a master of rasa. So rasa, the word, actually means taste or flavor. And interestingly enough, this was translated using an old Anglo-Saxon word called was it Meowa, or Maloa, some Anglo-Saxon word, which meant the flavor of ripened fruit. So if you're experiencing the flavor of ripened fruit, you're experiencing Meowa, something like that. It's in the notes. So this was translated into the later English, but still Old English word of mellow. So that's why you find devotees using words like mellow. It doesn't mean mellow as in like a slowly moving river, or hey man, I had a mellow day. But mellow means the rasa. So, but let's push on. So the key Upanishadic principle, the key thing from the Upanishads we should know, is that the rasa between the infinite Godhead and the infinitesimal soul can only be experienced when the infinite Godhead reveals itself to the soul. So rasa can only genuinely be experienced not by an effort of the mind, or just by scholarship, or just by thinking about it, or by plummeting into deep meditation. Rasa can only be experienced genuinely, and I say genuine as separate from other emotions that you may naturally experience. But rasa is a special thing that is given to us by the Supreme. And it goes like this, from the Katha Upanishad and the Mundaka Upanishad as well. Nayanatma pravachanena labhyo na medaya na bahuna shutena yama vaisha vrunute tena labhyastasyasha atma vivrunute tanum svam. Famous verse. The self, meaning the ultimate self, is not to be attained by a study of the Vedas. Even if you study the Vedas, you cannot experience rasa. Nor by your own intelligence, nor by hearing classes, but the self can be attained only by him who seeks to know it. To him, the self reveals its true nature. So spiritual truth is not just discovered intellectually. You can't crash your way into the party. You have to have an invitation. So the absolute truth or the ultimate reality has to invite you to that party, and then you will experience rasa, or relationship, meaning that you will be convinced that God exists. Basically, let's put it in Western terminology, you will experience that God exists. Now, this is not an exclusive understanding of the Vaishnavas. Anybody who looks towards God and tries to experience God and supplicates himself before God and asks God to reveal himself to them is on the path of rasa, and they may experience a fleeting glimpse of rasa. Most people say something like, I knew that my relationship with God was real, or I was saved, something like that. But it may not be for a long time. Or it may be. The idea of bhakti is that it begins the experience of rasa, and it perpetuates it and holds on to it for you. But we're getting ahead of ourselves in excitement. The nature of the soul is that the soul is anu, or atomic, and God, or the Paramatma, is vibhu, or infinite. That's the difference. Vibhu and anu. We are 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair, and God is unlimited and infinite. We are the spark coming from the fire, or the gold ring coming from the gold mine. In the gold mine there's unlimited gold. We are just one tiny ring that's been formed from that gold. So all these things. The key idea is that we're the same as God in quality, but not in quantity. And since God is conscious and loving, the soul is also conscious and loving. Love is not something that comes to us from outside, it's something inside. But currently we're a little shut down. So rasa means the relished, the enjoyment of a relationship, the experience of a relationship. Now in the Upanishads is described levels of happiness for the soul, and there's a hierarchy of happiness, and it describes a prince who has a chariot made of gold, who has fine horses and beautiful wives, palace in which to live. He's got all the fine food. And this level of happiness, of being young and handsome, being surrounded by women and gold and jewels and a palace, this is a unit of happiness. This is one. So if you've got all that in your life, most of us are still trying to climb up to have a little, even a fraction of one, aren't we? But that's a unit of one. Self-realization is a 10. Being a Muni is a 100. Being a Maharishi is a 1000. Being a god on the heavenly planet is a 10,000. Being self-realized at the peak of Brahma Nirvana is 100,000. And full realization of your relationship with God is 1,000,000. So that is a little hierarchy there. So you can be happy in this world, but there's more happiness in store for you in the next, or in the higher world. So even the bliss of Brahman, even the bliss of finally understanding that you are eternal and that you will never die, imagine that. Fear of death is the greatest crippling force that we have. Makes us do all kinds of things when you fear death. But when that's removed, it's very, very blissful. But even that bliss is transcended and dominated by relationship with God. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, we find the words Raso vai saha, that God himself is rasa. God himself is made of rasa. Okay, let's go on. You'll like it. So, you think of rasa as being the feeling evoked by when you go to the theatre, or when you go to see a film, or you listen to some uplifting music. So take that experience, the best experience you've ever had with entertainment, and then manifest it many, many times. infinitely deeper and spiritual, which means that ordinary music may make you feel like this, or theatre like this, or movie like this, or drama, just the drama of life may make you feel like this. But it comes and it goes. As rasa, even though it comes and goes in the beginning, it will get longer and longer as your life passes by. Now, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the golden incarnation of Krishna, meets Rupa Goswami, he asks him, he says, I'll give you the simple idea of rasa and you expand it. So Rupa Goswami does that for us. He says, why is Krishna central? And he defines Krishna as the fullest manifestation of rasa. If you take the Upanishad statement that rasa vaisaha, God is rasa, then Krishna is the fullest manifestation of rasa. He says Krishna is like a chrysoberyl gem. Apparently, I don't know, but there's a gem in India. Perhaps all around the world, I don't know, but he said it's like this particular gem, which shines with different colors according to the circumstances. So Krishna is like that. There are many different Krishnas, as we talked about last week. Talked about the avatars, there are many different manifestations of Krishna, many different incarnations. Although, if you remember, incarnation is not the best word, avatar is the best word. So Krishna manifests himself in different ways. And then Rupa Goswami goes on to say, there's a simultaneous one and difference, and it's not that one and difference that we talk about later on. But he says, if you imagine a candle flame and a bonfire, you can look at a candle flame and you can look at a bonfire and you can say, this is fire and that is fire. They're both the same. He says, and that's true. That's true. Candle flame is fire, bonfire is fire. That's true. It's the same. But the difference comes when you try to apply them. For cooking, you want a bigger fire. To keep warm on a winter night, you can keep warm with a candle flame perhaps, but a bigger fire, a log fire is much better. So when we are looking at the quantity, that's also important. So Krishna has different manifestations, and some of those manifestations are like a candle flame, and some are like a roaring bonfire. So Rupa Goswami says Krishna is like the roaring bonfire. There's everything that you need to cook, to stay warm, to be protected from wild animals. Everything is there. Then he says there's his nephew, Jiva Goswami, who is another of the 6 Goswamis, he says that actually what is important here is also that understanding that Krishna has 2 primary manifestations. Firstly, there is the Aishwarya, which means his manifestation of majesty, of power. That Krishna, the person Krishna, manifests in a very powerful way. And Madhurya, Krishna's sweetness, the sense of intimacy that we may get from Krishna. And it's important because Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they're talking about moving away from the idea of God as the most powerful, which most religions have, the idea of God as the most powerful, to God as lovable and relational. So Rupa, he says that there's 4 unique qualities that make Krishna particularly lovable and relational. Firstly, there's Krishna's Leela, his pastimes that we can enter into. Rasa, the connection, allows us even to enter into those pastimes. It's like Krishna is performing a drama eternally in the spiritual world. You can actually close your eyes in meditation, and if you're a rasa expert, you will open your eyes and you will be in that garden with Krishna. You'll be inside the pastime, having a relationship with Krishna. That is open for those who meditate deeply. Second is Krishna's flute. It's interesting, isn't it, that God plays the flute, Krishna plays the flute. And the flute is more than just, a detail. It's the way in which Krishna attracts all living beings in the spiritual world and the material world. Krishna's form, his rupa, his beauty, that's especially attractive and very provocative of rasa in the mind of the devotee. And the fourth category is Krishna's love for his devotees and the devotees' love for him. That relationship is not even there with Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu, but with Krishna it is. So these are special four elements of Krishna's relations with the devotees that particularly rank him as the ultimate reciprocator of rasa. And then he talks about the different spots where Krishna's, remember last time we talked about the divisions of the spiritual world. Even though the spiritual world is infinite, there are divisions of progressive elevation in majesty and sweetness. So he talks about progressing from spiritual Dwarka to Mathura to Vrindavan. And therefore the ultimate is to meditate upon Krishna in that Vrindavan mode. So this idea is not something new that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught. It's there elementally in the Upanishads, but it's there also in the Srimad Bhagavatam from the beginning. We find the word rasa. Permit me to read you a verse. Nigama kalpataror galitam palam Shuka mukadamrita drava samyutam Pilbata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhur ahoras rasika bhuvi bhavoka. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literature. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So they're making a play on the word here between the ripened fruit, sweet taste of ripened fruit, and the sweet taste of Krishna, available now for the first time. When Srila Vyasadeva went into deep meditation, he's now composed this book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which gives the best of the best of the best of the understanding of God and reveals to all his pastimes, his flute, his reciprocation with his devotees. So then the sages, when they hear this verse, they say, Vayam tu na vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yachchinvatam rasa jnanam svadu svadu pade pade. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. To those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with him, Rasa, relish hearing of his pastimes at every moment. That's in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So what is Rasa? We give you a little dictionary definition. We've described it a little bit. Let's see what Rupa Goswami says in his book, which is all about Rasa. It's called the Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, the nectar of the ocean of Rasa. He says that Rasa is beyond imagination. That's the first quality. Seems abstract, isn't it? But it's beyond imagination. It's full of wonder and is relished only in a purified heart. So it's a direct, relishable experience of a relationship with the divine. let's define it by what it's not. It's not a material emotion which is temporary. It's not a material emotion which is mixed with ego, where you're the center of the universe, which often ends up in dissatisfaction. It's completely separate from that. Rasa is eternal, goes on forever, it's pure, and it's ever increasing. Once you begin on the path of rasa, you just continue. So do not misunderstand that rasa is just intense emotion, that I have come to the Hare Krishna temple and now I'm experiencing rasa and I'm in ecstasy. Well, you might be momentarily, but you must do some practice. Practice of bhakti makes perfect. It's like the difference between reading about love and being in love. There's a big difference between reading about love and being in love. So at the moment we're reading about rasa, we're talking about rasa. There's a big difference between reading about it, talking about it, and experiencing it. It's experiential and it's not theoretical. You okay so far? You know, people are already on a pathway. Most people, every soul actually is on a pathway to God. Krishna says that all pathways are to him. When I first came to the company of devotees of Krishna, I asked them the question. I said, are you telling me that everybody else is wrong and you're the only ones that are right? And I fully expected them to say, yes. But they said, no. Krishna himself, in his Bhagavad Gita, says that everybody is on his path. So whatever religion you call yourself, whatever name, whatever sect, cult, group, theology you have, you're on that path to Krishna because Krishna is God. So therefore, everybody is on the path to Krishna, which is reassuring. But on that path to Krishna, just like the Pilgrim's Progress has different stages, and at any stage we can be pulled off that path if we're not careful. I thought we should look at the different levels that we sometimes hear that people are, in their relationship with God. First of all, you tell me if you agree with me, but first of all, I think we have people who deny the existence of God. They just deny the existence of God. God doesn't exist. I don't believe in God. And that's the first level, okay? But even denying the existence of God, you're talking about God. So there's something there. Second is a person is open to the possibility of the existence of God. I don't know. I don't think you know. I don't think anybody knows. But it might possibly be God. I'm not sure. So we go from what we might call an atheist to an agnostic. And then people say, yeah, I believe in God, but I believe in God as sort of like X-rays or like a light, something like that. I believe that's the source of all energy, that God is energy, I'm energy, and I'm going back to the source. Very vague and impersonal. Then people who have a religious persuasion, I believe in Almighty God, I believe in God the loving Father, I believe in God the compassionate Son. These are all distinctions. But what about this one? We go out towards the east and we have, I believe in God the Mother. What about that one? If God is the Father, why not God the Mother? Or God the Mother and Father? God the long-lost friend of the soul. That's another concept. And God the Lover. So Rupa Goswami picks this verse and he asks us to meditate on this verse because it's a description of Krishna and see whether it attracts you. Krishna's form as a human being is the supreme transcendental form In this form, he is a cowherd boy who carries a flute in his hand and is an expert dancer. Even a fractional understanding of his beauty can merge the universe in an ocean of love. Krishna's body is the ornament of his ornaments. Krishna wears a pearl necklace that appears like a chain of white ducks around his neck. The peacock feather in his hair appears like a rainbow, and his yellow garments appear like lightning in the sky. Krishna appears like a newly risen cloud, and the gopis appear like newly grown grains in the field. Constant rains of nectarian pastimes fall upon these newly grown grains, and it seems as if the cowherd maidens are receiving beams of life from Krishna, exactly as grains receive life from the rains. Beautifully poetic. Important for us, I think, at this point, to understand that spiritual life is uncovering what is already there deep within us, not creating something new. A rasa is always relationship-based, always relational, and it exists in exchange. So it is not just that we have an experience of Krishna, and that constitutes rasa. That it's true. But it's also that Krishna is experiencing us. Even Krishna, he's Rasa Raja. He's the king of rasa, so he's experiencing his relationship with us too. Don't think that when you do something for Krishna, it's all one-sided. You go towards Krishna, Krishna comes towards you. Krishna allows you more in your relationship with him, and the connection is service. So, when Krishna experiences pleasure from the soul's efforts to reach him, then Krishna himself reaches out to us, to you, with pleasure. You'll feel pleasure. And that's why people keep coming back to Bhakti, because it allows for that exchange. So Rupa Goswami goes on and he describes the varieties of relationships. He talks about 5 primary rasas, 5 primary relationships. They're all on a sort of a rainbow of relationships, but there's 5 primary, 7 secondary, and they all sort of grade into each other like colors mixing. There's Shanta relationship, Shanta Rasa, which is a peaceful neutrality. I'm meditating on the face of God, but I'm not serving him. That's a beautiful thing, but I'm not progressing through the rasa rainbow. I'm just experiencing. So a meditating yogi is that, in that mood. Meditating yogi is just meditating on the face of God. He may have tears streaming down his face, but he's not impelled to enter into a greater relationship. There's dasya, or servitude, I'm servant of God. Sakya, I'm a friend of God. In that rasa, one forgets that I'm a tiny soul, and one becomes a friend of God. And God himself allows you to forget that you're a tiny soul. And you look at your body, and you've got a body the same size as God, and you enter into that relationship as a brother or a friend. Vatsalya, not God the Father, but God the Son, and I am the Father of God. How about that for a relationship? It's not that you're ignorant, it's not that you're forgetful of God, but your intensity of remembrance of Krishna is that you have that relationship with Krishna that Krishna actually enjoys. Krishna enjoys it when you think of him as your son. And then madhurya, or conjugal love, when one enters into a relationship of partners with Krishna. So each rasa includes and builds upon the previous one. And rather than separate categories, think of increasing intensity or increasing intimacy, where we progressively forget ourselves in our identity with Krishna, forgetting not as Maya, but Krishna gives what is known as Yoga Maya. So it's an intense forgetfulness of Krishna caused by Krishna. Usually we live in a forgetfulness of Krishna caused by ourselves due to being covered by false ego in the body and the mind and intelligence like that, polluted intelligence. But this forgetfulness of Krishna being God is something wonderful that's in the rasas, and in effort to explain it, Prabhupada told us a story about the British Prime Minister, and I'm sorry I can't remember which one. Could be Gladstone, could be Disraeli, but back in Victorian days. And a distinguished gentleman came to see the Prime Minister, and he was made to wait. And he waited and waited, and the Prime Minister was always busy, as they sometimes are, of course, with affairs of state. So he went outside the building and looked through the window, and he saw that the Prime Minister was being a horse, and his young son was on his back, and he was playing giddy up horsey, and the son was chuckling and laughing. So Prabhupada was laughing as he told the story. He said, here is the Prime Minister, the most important man in the whole of England, and yet he's down on his all fours, being a horse for his son. Why? Because of rasa, because this gives him a greater enjoyment than being the Prime Minister. So Prime Minister is Vishnu, most powerful, and then Krishna is allowing us to come and play with him. So the awe and majesty give way to closeness and sweetness. So 7 secondary rasas, and then we'll come to a close, I think. You can just allow these to fill your mind with a thought. One rasa with Krishna is amazement. These are secondary relationships with Krishna which augment the primary ones. So you can have amazement in each of these different 5. So the 7 secondary combine. Humour, that's a good one, eh? Humour with God. Chivalry, compassion, fury, fear, dread. So these secondary emotions, they temporarily appear like waves in an ocean. They come up, augment the primary rasas, and then come down. An illustration given by our Vaishnava teachers is when Krishna entered the wrestling arena in Mathura. He had a mission to remove King Kamsa, the evil King Kamsa, from the throne. And Kamsa had a mission in life to remove Krishna by having him killed. So Kamsa his intentions were not good. So Krishna entered the wrestling arena already knowing Kamsa's life was about to end. But before the wrestling match, the crowd, they all saw Krishna in different ways. So same Krishna, only one Krishna, but each member of the audience, of the crowd, some were booing, some were cheering, some were worried. The wrestlers saw him as death personified, fear. Their relationship with Krishna was fear. The parents saw him as a frail child. He's a boy, he's only 11. Why is he going to fight with these wrestlers? He's going to be hurt. Very fearful. Women saw Krishna as a teenager, handsome young man. They were attracted to him. Kamsa, however, looked at Krishna, and he already knew the prophecy was that he would die at the hands of the 8th child of Vasudeva and Devaki. So he was looking at Krishna as death. So your experience of Krishna depends on your relationship with him. What is your relationship with Krishna? That's the question. Are you afraid of him? Do you like him? Are you trying to love him? Are you trying to love him but you feel that he's far away? What is your relationship with Krishna? He's a mystery. I kind of like the idea of Krishna, but I'm not so sure. I want to stay on the fence a little bit longer until I'm zapped by Rasa. When I have some experience of Krishna, then you see, but it doesn't work that way. First you serve. First you enter into your relationship with Krishna. You take something which is theoretical and abstract, and you put it into practice in your life, and then you get what you get. Don't wait to see if you get something and then become convinced. Become intellectually convinced, even if you don't experience it, but then enter into it, and then you'll experience it. So rasa begins as sadhana bhakti, or practice. There's a gradual development of practice, which turns into attachment. I like Krishna now. I can't break myself away. Which will then turn into love, which then turns into rasa. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was talking to Sanatan Goswami, Sanatan Rupa, he said it's like sugarcane becoming sugarcane juice, or you start with the seed of a sugarcane plant. You get the stalks, there's some sugar there. You crush the stalks, you get the sugarcane juice. That's sweet. Sweeter than the canes, certainly sweeter than the seed. And then you boil the sugarcane juice, and that's sweeter still. And then you process it even further and you get lozenges. That's the sweetest. You get molasses, and then from the molasses you get brown sugar, and then brown sugar you get the pure crystals. So this is prema, which is known as pure love, in which the rasa is fully manifest. So Krishna is the object of rasa for us, but for himself he's the experiencer of rasa. He's the experiencer of rasa. He's experiencing everybody's relationship with him all at one time. He's a supreme enjoyer. Rasa is a mutual exchange, and the idea is that Krishna will respond to any love that is shown to him, even if it's mechanical, ritualistic, or incomplete, or just temporarily given based on the idea of curiosity, or let me just do this thing. Let me take a flower and offer it to a picture of Krishna and see what happens. Let me just see what happens. I remember when I was 17, the devotees of Krishna told me about Krishna, and I wasn't so sure. I liked the philosophical ideas of reincarnation. I'd even shaved my head. I liked the food. I liked the kirtan. But that was all me, me, me. And when they brought me into the something other as Krishna, well, I could neither confirm nor deny the existence of Krishna. They said, well, why don't you just try it? Just every day you ask in your meditation for Krishna to reveal himself, and you perform bhakti every day. Come with us, sing with us, try to sell books about Krishna, and every day just do this one thing. You pick a wild flower and you offer it to a picture of Krishna. Just do that. So I did that, and after about 9 or 10 months I began to feel something even more than just the pleasure of being in the company of spiritual people. Krishna is not passive. He participates in that relationship that you're trying to create with him. just trying to create a relationship with Krishna means that you're already having one. You're in a relationship. He's Rasika Shekhar. He's the supreme enjoyer of rasa. Now, Jiva Goswami says, hang on a minute. We understand that Krishna is Atmarama. He's completely self-satisfied. Krishna does not need to go anywhere else in order to get any other enjoyment. So what is the attraction for him with rasa? And he describes that Krishna's desire for the rasa, coming to experience the rasa with you, it doesn't come from anything that he lacks. It comes from his fullness. And he gives an analogy, a couple of analogies. He says, when a pot is on the stove, a pot full of milk is on the stove, being nicely bubbling away, sometimes it spills over. He says it's like that. The heart of God spills over in joy at being God, just the joy of being God. He said it's like a baby. A baby has everything. It's got so much love. But sometimes a baby just laughs for no reason at all, because he's happy. So when Krishna wants to engage in rasa with the individual soul who's trying to attain him through bhakti, it is because of his fullness, because of his joy. Another example, if we needed one, we don't need one, but he gives us one. He says that a man, when he's very happy walking down the road, he's whistling a tune. He's whistling a tune. And he's enjoying himself. But if he picks up a whistle, a flute or a pipe, and he whistles, he can have so much more fun. So like that, Krishna's already happy, but now he can expand his own Rama, his own pleasure, by playing a tune. So he wants us to understand this idea, Jiva. He says that the divine desire expresses his abundance, not his need. It's not that God is needing anything from us. So let's conclude. You've been listening very carefully. Rasa is the goal of spiritual life, the nature of ultimate reality, and the essence of the soul's divine relationship with the Lord. God is not something or someone only to be understood. God is to be experienced and related to. And reality, this understanding of God at its deepest level, is not power, the understanding of God the all-powerful, God the Almighty, but it's relational. The ultimate truth, concluding words, the ultimate truth is not simply that God exists, but that God loves and invites us into that love. Krishna is the ocean of rasa, and the soul's destiny is to enter that ocean. Thank you very much. That was Rasa. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Hare Krishna, Namaste, and